Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Cape Rugby TV, where we take a look on a weekly basis at what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Big thanks to our partners on board with us, Score Energy Drinks. As you know, they're on board with Western Province Rugby and the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens, MChem 24-hour Pharmacy, and Thorburn Security Solutions. Folks, as you know, a lot of the clubs have started returning to training and doing so according to the health and safety protocols that have been issued, and of course only after certification by Western Province Rugby. But we'll be catching up tonight with some of the clubs that have managed to get back on the park. John van der Walt, head coach at False Bay, will be up first. We'll be crossing to him in a second. John is going to tell us about their return to training and quite a little bit of talk there on injury prevention. Phil Cronje is head coach at Hamilton's Rugby Football Club, and Hamiltons have managed to get back on the park, and they've also been upgrading their facility behind the scenes. Dion Daniels is the COVID compliance officer at Rocklands, and he gives us a detailed explanation as to the COVID regulations that they're following at Rocklands Football Club and an outreach project that they are busy with at Rocklands with Invisible Hands. And of course, adding to that, he's also going to tell us a little bit more about recruitment at Rocklands in terms of their junior structures. And then we'll speak to Christopher Andrews. He's back this week. He's, of course, assistant coach at Franschhoek Rugby Football Club. They sent us a video about the COVID protocols, so we'll take a look at Franschhoek's return to training. And then to sum it all up for us, we'll catch up with Jerome Parvater, head of high performance for clubs at Western Province Rugby. They've been doing quite a lot of work behind the scenes in terms of the COVID-19 education and return to training protocols, and Jerome will tell us a little bit more about that. Folks, don't forget, of course, during the course of the show, I'm going to give you an opportunity to win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks. All right, Score Energy Drinks, that is up for grabs, together with a case of bash shoes. This is, of course, the triple hamper, and a set of Cape Rugby TV masks, courtesy of CTC Sports. There you see the banner behind me right now. That is the name that you're going to need to SMS to 33090. And that'll give you an opportunity to win a case of Score, a case of bash shoes, and a set of 24 masks, all up for grabs. On the line with me now, John van der Walt, head coach at False Bay Rugby Football Club. Jono, great to have you back. How are you, meneer?
Hey, JP, how's it going, man? Lucky to be back. And I must say, it was very pleasant being back at our field. I mean, back at our club after almost 12 months of being on grass.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have managed to stay fit up to a point, but rugby training is a little bit different.
Yes, there's only so much running on the road, in the forest, on the beach, and training in a gym that you can do. But rugby is played on a rugby field, and it's played with rugby boots, and therefore the body needs a much different element of conditioning. And we're just very happy to kind of be back on the field.
So as we know, the Bay is always talking about the gees. It's all about the gees. How much difference was that coming back to training? I believe you guys came back on Thursday last week for the first time. How was that for the players?
Oh, JP, it was. I wouldn't even just say the players. I'd say coaches and spectators and just family members, and everyone is just super happy. And it was quite nice looking across all of our fields, seeing groups of 6 and 7 players running around and doing their thing, and kind of just to be happy in boots and just having a laugh with some of their teammates. And some guys haven't seen each other in ages. We had certain squads at CrossFit at the gym, but many of the guys were just working and kind of keeping themselves busy.
And of course, if we just, John, I mean, over the last, let's say, year, it's been basically in a month's time, it'll have been a year since this lockdown, but you guys came straight out of the starting blocks a year ago, and you managed to maintain contact with the players. You kept them active either on Facebook or on Instagram or WhatsApp messages. And then of course when the release came to do a little bit of outdoor activity, you guys carried on with some mountain training and so on. Did that help with you getting the guys sort of call to action to say, guys, come get down to the field at 6 o'clock?
Yeah, JP, again, I think for 9 months I've had probably a squad of about 40, 45 guys, and I I must say hats off to them through thick and through thin. These guys have come down once a week. They've kind of pretty much done whatever the coaches have told them within reason, but they've done it with a smile on their face, and they've gone through some dark places. And one of the things you always just said is that it doesn't matter when rugby comes back. When it does, we must make sure that we're fit enough to play. And if that first game comes, then I sure as I'll hope that our basic opposition have been training as hard as we have as well.
And the COVID side of things, I mean, we know that there are very strict regulations in place at the moment. Of course, the players have to factor this in. How was the first day coming back in terms of all of the protocols, filling in the forms and the sanitization and that? Or was it just a question of let's get past it and do a bit of exercise?
It was easier than I thought it would have been, probably because we've all been so used to sanitizing and wearing masks for a year already. So it would be very different if we were last year, April, May, straight after lockdown and came in, it would have been a bit strange. But the fact that we've all been kind of used to this so-called way of living for the last 12 months made things very easy. Everyone comes along, nobody's handshaking, sitting in small huddles or doing whatever they're doing. Everyone's kind of very aware about social distancing. Of course, once we get to the fields, the players have their masks off, but all the coaches have their masks on. Guys sanitize before, during, and after practice, and then the guys are off. So to be quite honest, it's kind of how we've dealt with things whenever we've trained outdoors as well. So there hasn't been a big change, I must say. There is maybe a slight, it's a bit admin intensive for all the paperwork and the forms that we have to fill in. But once you put that aside, to be quite honest, it's just rugby guys doing their thing on the field.
A couple of squads came back on Thursday, Jono, and also you've got quite a couple of departments at the Bay. One of them being your women's rugby side. That looks like there's a bit of momentum going. I know we last year spoke to Zoe Nudia, and you've got quite an active program there. Yes,
we were actually quite shocked. You know, we have this place obviously between the two fields, and we call it the Cabbage Patch. Funny enough, it's called the Cabbage Patch, but it's got the best grass on both the fields. But the ladies, that's kind of, they put up base. And when we looked across, they had about 10 or 12 ladies, and they were doing their thing. And at the end of it, looked like they got a nice sweat going. So again, it is just nice to look across our field and see ladies, seeing the second, third squad, and seeing the under 20 start up as well as the first team squad down there. So very, very positive, and again, very happy that we're on the field.
From a fitness point of view then, Jono, if we now actually talk about the actual activity, you guys, we know that False Bay has made a big name for itself with promoting the CrossFit structures, and you guys have been very active with CrossFit. That, of course, puts you in that space of being able to be active, but not necessarily according to the rugby regulations where you're on the field. You're in someone else's environment. How are the guys looking from a strength point of view? The backs, the forwards, the management?
Yeah, I think you actually laugh. The management, some of them might even come out of retirement because they're looking so fit at the moment. Again, I think the players' strength numbers are up, because normally in a rugby season, you know, you have off season and a pre-season, and guys will do a little bit of strength work, but that kind of starts to move away once we get into rugby season. So the guys are looking very, very strong at the moment. Above all, they're moving very nicely. They're well balanced. They're kind of almost looking like athletes again. And now comes a test where we can put it all onto the field. So we just have some very small concerns about some soft tissue injuries. So we're very wary about hamstrings, groins, calf muscles, and all the rest. So we won't be hitting the field running hard, but we'll definitely use the next 3 to 4 weeks and just ease into it, just to be happy, like kind of running on our boots on the field. But we won't be pushing and trying to like maybe headhunt and kind of go hell for leather. It's definitely going to be a nice meticulous approach this year.
That's great stuff, Jono. It's great stuff. We know that things are not easy. We know that the COVID regulations are still in place, and that things are going to be like that, at least until further notice. But it's great to hear that the guys are able to put their boots on and well, at least see each other, even if it's just through the mask.
Yeah, again, and just by having a look kind of on Friday and through the weekend at kind of all of the social media from all the other clubs, it seems like guys are very hungry and guys want to train, and all they need is hopefully that everything eases up in terms of actually COVID itself, because we know that we almost become a little bit biased because it's our sport and it's rugby, and we just want rugby to continue, but we have to understand that there's a lot, obviously something bigger at play there. But at the same time, we also do need to move on with our lives, and let's just make sure, again, like always, we keep healthy, we stay fit, and that should any of us do get sick, that hopefully we're strong enough to fight it. And that's kind of maybe the motto that we're going in with is just to say that our lives can't come to an end. We still have to get up every day. We have to go work. And if we can play a sport after work, well, that'll be great.
Jono, we'll leave it at that. Always positive from you. We'll catch up again soon.
Lekker, JP. Thanks, man.
There we go, folks. Jono van der Walt, head coach of False Bay Rugby, or director, head coach, False Bay Rugby Football Club. Always great to see how positive the Bay is. Great to see that another club has made the migration towards training. Of course, all happening according to those regulations at the moment. But yep, certainly if there's one team that's going to bring the gears, it's False Bay. Folks, we'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking about club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. We carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. Of course, things are very technical at the moment, especially when it comes to COVID matters. Compliance officers have to be in place. Submissions have to be in place. Return to training plans have to be in place. Players have to sign documentation before practice. All of these components have to be in place before players, in fact, get back to training. Now, Rocklands has got their ducks in a row. And to tell me more about what's happening at Rocklands Rugby Football Club is Dion Daniels. Dion is, of course, the COVID compliance officer at Rocklands Rugby Football Club. Dion, fantastic to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks, JP. How are you?
Dion, let's start at the beginning. You are the compliance officer, the COVID-19 compliance officer at Rocklands. This is, of course, a requirement for clubs to have in place.
That is correct. If you, or I'm sure you, of course, more than anyone else, are aware of the fact that last year rugby died down because of the COVID-19 pandemic. This year, what has happened is that with very strict protocols, we could not start rugby until we met all the requirements of, firstly, the world body, worldrugby.org, as well as SARU, and then Western Province Rugby Football Union. And it is not just a matter of getting a compliance officer or a certificate of operation. It's also about ensuring that we have a live system that we can, on a daily basis, ensure compliance, that we prevent infection, and ultimately what we don't want is death on the rugby field.
Dion, so how are things then going at Rocklands? Of course, last week we spoke to Earl a few times to find out how you guys are doing and staying in contact with your players, and of course now 2 weeks ago, or a few weeks ago, SA Rugby announced the return to play, let me get that right, return to training. We've in fact have spoken to already a few folks that have managed to get the players back on the field. Are you guys there yet?
Yes, we are. Officially, our practice session started last week, but we're going to get the guys now to start training as from this coming Tuesday. And again, as I said, it is not just a matter of ticking the boxes when it comes to compliance. It is about sustaining that as well. So yes, we are ready to go. We've done some behind the scenes work prior to us getting the official recognition from Western Province to start training, as well as the appointment of the compliance COVID-19 compliance officer.
Dion, just tell us a little bit about the actual recruitment there. I know that you guys keep telling, especially on your social media platforms, you're telling people about Rocklands. We see some really exciting photographs there. I believe that you guys are very active with recruitment at the moment, trying to keep your members engaged and even bring in some new members.
That is correct. The recruitment is ongoing. If I can just bring something in that is, of course, applicable to all clubs. At the moment, all the club players are not officially registered, but of course they have a loyalty towards their clubs. Then there is now the window of opportunity for players to move between clubs. And what we have seen as a result, we've seen players who are previously from Rocklands who are still coming to the club and still wanting to at least remain physically fit. So that being said, what we have in place at the moment is a recruitment drive. Of course, social media, as you are aware, is stating all of that. And it is a continuous process. It is a matter of we're trying to at least, with the youth division this year, to at least have 200 plus players registered by the time Western Province says to us that we are ready to register players.
Dion, when we spoke to Irwell last year, you guys were very active in terms of helping out in the community. Your players, your management, everybody was coming together to try and support those less fortunate that the club could reach out to. One of the structures that you've got a relationship with there, and we see the poster, is Invisible Hands. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay. Thank you for allowing me to mention this, JP. Invisible Hands is a charity organization where, when we started the feeding scheme, where we look at underprivileged areas and to reach out to those communities. Of course, as you know, COVID-19 hit us very hard. The economy is down, so there's unemployment, and we respect the integrity of communities. So it's not a matter of trying to expose people, and we have to consider dignity. So it is a respectable manner of handing out to the community something which, at least if there's no food on the table for that specific day, then at least we are trying just to alleviate the issues that they are struggling with on a day-to-day basis. So yes, that is where Invisible Hands, once we started ourselves, we had to contribute as players towards this feeding scheme, and of course it became a bit expensive. So we then reached out to certain organizations, and Invisible Hands, they were kind enough to actually, because this is basically what they are about. And hooking up with them, that means the next time, if we have what is now currently twice a month, we're trying to work towards weekly. They are still on board to help us wherever they can, of course, bearing in mind that they have limited resources. So at the same time, we're also appealing for the extra donations where it can help us to make sure that we can sustain this, because it doesn't mean if the league starts or practice starts that we will stop this. This is now something that we saw is very important for our community. So we want to continue building on that.
And Dion, I'm assuming if people want to get involved, if they want to reach out, Facebook is probably still one of the best places to get hold of you.
That is absolutely correct, yes.
Thanks, Dion. We'll leave it at that, and we'll of course say to you, we know that you're the health and safety officer there. Your company, in fact, helping out there, I believe, and sponsoring the juniors. So we thank you for that. But we know that if you're involved with the health and safety, then at least the boxes are ticked on that side. And we'll say to you and everybody else out there, stay safe, and we're looking forward to getting more feedback.
Thank you very much. If I can just conclude by saying one thing to the other clubs who are in the same position as Rocklands. This has to be a collective effort. One person, one section of a club cannot do this alone. COVID-19, we know, impacts not only on our play, on us as players, it impacts on our family. There are persons already who have experienced death, who have experienced at least infection. So we know it is now within our midst, because we are in the midst of a pandemic. So the important thing, if there's something that anyone else watching this program can take home with them, is the fact that we all need to unite and work together as a team. This is what rugby teaches us. Yeah. If COVID-19 is the big guy on the field, we know the slogan, the bigger they are, the harder they fall. So we can combat this pandemic by just applying the skill set that we have, because rugby is ultimately about life skills.
Thanks, Dion. There we go, folks. Dion Daniels, of course, COVID compliance officer at Rocklands Rugby Football Club. And great to see that there is a good example of the health and safety protocols being applied at Rocklands Rugby Football Club. And well done to everybody out there. And there's a good lesson there for everybody to pay attention to those health and safety protocols. Very important that everybody plays their part. Folks, of course, as you know, on a weekly basis, we do the MChem 24-hour pharmacy public review. And these are reviews that come in from you, the public, either on Google or on Facebook, of course, after you've been shopping at MChem. And this week's review comes in from Ronelle Roper. And Ronelle, of course, gave MChem a 5-star rating. And she goes on to say, "Thank you for going the extra mile this morning. Will always be grateful." I'm assuming then that Ronelle popped into the store sometime this morning to go and do her shopping at MChem. And that's, of course, a fantastic 5-star review there from Ronelle Roper. Folks, of course, you can also leave your reviews after you've been to visit MChem. And, of course, as you know, every staff member at MChem 24-hour pharmacy is geared to help you with all of your pharmaceutical requirements from the minute that you park to the minute that you leave. And of course, MChem staff are there to help you with whatever you need, whenever you need it. And that is, of course, MChem's promise. MChem 24-hour pharmacy, always open, and they're there to help you 24 hours a day, every day. MChem 24-hour pharmacy. You got to go there. You've got to go pop in at MChem. As you know, it's open 24 hours a day. And I love the fact, as I've mentioned before, I love the fact that there's free parking outside and enough parking, enough space as well for you to park into the pharmacy. And of course, as I've told you before, it's just a matter of seconds from the time that you park before somebody arrives and says, "Can they help you?" Folks, we'll take an ad break, and when we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Nice to have you back, and we carry on talking about club rugby, and of course the new dynamics over the last week or so has been many clubs returning to training, of course, according to those health and safety protocols. And for many clubs, they've only had one session back. One session. Some clubs have had maybe 2 or 3, but a lot of clubs have only had one session back last week, Thursday, generally being the sort of the Tuesday-Thursday scenario. And Hamilton's Rugby Football Club, of course, being one of them. Phil Cronje joins me on the line, head coach of rugby at Hamilton's. Phil, nice to have you back.
Hi, JP. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm here again.
Yes.
I'm Phil Cronje. Yeah, James, like I said the last time, wow, how short is a month in rugby? From a month ago, we still didn't have any dates. People get together, meet, and then they pull the trigger and say, you know what, let's go back to rugby. Let's see what's happening.
So we just got off a long interview with Jonathan van der Walt. You know, I mean, all of you, many of the clubs, in fact, have been managing to keep the guys active, either running in the mountain or doing CrossFit. And Jono was telling me about how excited their guys were to get back on the field, even though they've been seeing each other in the sort of the off-field, non-rugby sense, doing social stuff. But that he just said the guys were so happy to be back at the clubhouse. So how were your guys on Thursday?
Well, I must be honest with you. We did decide to start on Thursday as well, but then we got 1 or 2 calls from players to say, you know what, coach, there's some clubs that's starting on Tuesday. Maybe they're just going to have a session there because they're so hungry to go just out on the field, see people, see what rugby polls looks like again and stuff like that. The end of the day, so we decide on the Monday, okay, guys, we're going to start on the Tuesday. So from our side, we were like hoping to see and what would the outcome be. And by surprise, on the first day, the Tuesday night, we were hoping to get 25, 30 guys down there. So our first session, we had like 58 guys down at training.
58 guys. Last week Thursday? Last week Tuesday? When was
last
that?
Week Tuesday, yeah.
Right,
on
so,
Thursday, we had 58 guys down. So yeah, the numbers is looking good. The condition of the guys was amazed.
Really good?
I must be honest, we were quite surprised of the conditioning of some of the players.
Yeah, I think a lot of players, of course, have been managing to keep themselves either in the gym or some doing their CrossFit scenario. That's great news. And what about from a cardio point of view? Did you have them run a little bit?
Yeah, we had our SNC coach, Mike, is obviously dealing with it now. So as you know, we have to follow the protocol. So the sooner you start, as you know, then your 4 weeks start. So we have to do the first 4 weeks is like a fitness session, let's call it that way. And then the second 4 weeks, you can bring in some bags and make some contact. So we're busy with that. And from what I understand, if the first 8 weeks is over and done and dusted, then you can start planning friendlies. Like we had a chat off air, I got calls from clubs already to say, hey, Phil, what's happening? Is there dates open for friendlies? So, yeah, I think the clubs is active. I think everybody's so happy to be back and just start planning. So I think we'll take it week by week.
Yeah, one step at a time. But it's a good thing to get the planning in place. I mean, you want to be able to work towards something. We don't know if these plans are going to materialize, but you have to have some sort of goals, some sort of targets.
Yeah, we definitely have targets. Obviously, we're starting off with a 12-week program, and obviously, hopefully, we can follow this 12-week program through. And we're going to have a close look on the guys to see the progress. Obviously, from a coaching perspective, we need to make sure. Remember, these guys haven't made contact, let's call it, in a year and a half. So we're not too sure in what shape that body's going to be. Yes, you can be running fit. You can have nice energy going. But at the end of the days, that bumps and knocks that you're going to get in a contact session, that's where I think the surprise is going to be, to see in what nick the guys is going to be when it comes to contact sessions.
Jono, Phil, what are some of the pictures that you sent us here is the clubhouse. Now, during last year, we saw you guys redid the field a little bit, and now we've got sort of a product to see. It's looking great.
Yeah, I must be honest, we must give Derek, our club manager, a big high five there. At the end of the day, he's put a lot of hard work in at the clubhouse. Obviously, from the pictures that you guys will see, there's a lot of changes happening. Our pitch is looking in good nick. They fixed the pavilions. They paint out the clubhouse. They tile the bathrooms. For me to arrive there last week, and the players, it was all wow. Although we can't get in there now, at the end of the day, it's job well done. So I must say, Derek, our club manager, did a very good job there.
Yeah, in fact, I mean, I suppose you're right. At the moment, there's no such thing as using all of the facilities. You're limited. You're in, you train, you get out. None of those. Or a lot less, at least, of the.
Joby, that's the sad part. Obviously, I thought that the first night, because we have to have 4 stations where the players could join. We don't want the players. Obviously, we have to have social distancing. Yeah. So we tried to manage that, and obviously for the numbers, we didn't know that we're going to have all that numbers that's coming. So the guys, keep your distance. Stand away from each other. Everybody bring their own water bottles, wear their mask when they're signing in. So it's important. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, but the priority for us is to make sure that our club members and our players is that we look after them and we follow those protocols.
Yeah. Phil, we'll leave it at that, and we'll say to you, thanks for chatting with us. Of course, pass our best on to the players. We're looking forward to seeing all those photographs of all these and videos of all these fit, strong players.
Yeah, Jabes, all the best to you guys. And it's exciting times now. Like I said, I think in the last week, the planning that was going through, it seems like we were never being away from rugby. But it's exciting times, and let's hope that everything stays away. And as I call it, the league will start on the 3rd of June. We will be ready come that first whistle.
Yeah, let's see what they say. Thanks, Phil. We'll catch up again soon. There we go, folks. Phil Cronje, head coach of Hamilton's Rugby Football Club, and another club, slowly taking one step at a time on training. And of course, as you heard Phil say there, very strict regulations in place, doing all of the protocols before coming to training. Folks, we'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, carry on talking about club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, everybody. Nice to have you along. As you know, we carry on talking about what's happening in the world of Western Province Club Rugby. And of course, as you know, training has slowly started resuming. But of course, it's all according to these health and safety protocols that have been issued by SA Rugby and of course by Western Province Rugby. And we thought that we would take a look at some of the practical aspects. And Franschhoek Rugby Football Club, in fact, sent us a little video of their practice COVID preparation. And we've got Christopher Andrews on the line to tell us a little bit more about this. But let's first take a look at their video. Christopher, welcome back to Cape Rugby TV. I think it hasn't been that long since we spoke to you last.
Hi JP, thank you for having me again. I think it was a week or 2 weeks ago that I was on the show. Yes, and it's good to be back and representing the Franschhoek Rugby Club.
Yeah, and Christopher, let's go straight into it. The video that we just saw now. Quite a lot of work being done there with the COVID regulations and the structure before practice.
Yes, JP, all credit to our club management and especially to our COVID compliance officer and also head coach Julian Williams, who have put in a lot of hard work in preparing the field and all the COVID stations and adhere to the regulations, so that we can have a seamless preparation befell we go to practice.
Have you had your first practice? Well, in fact, we know because we've got another video to look at. But tell us about the first practice session.
Yeah, JP, we last Tuesday we had our first meeting, a short management meeting, and then we had a dry run to get the players used to what is going to happen, the new normal. I think for the rest of the season, Yeah. And it took a couple of minutes or some time to get used to it. And once everyone knew what to do, I think it went a bit quicker. And excitement was huge. Excitement was very, very huge.
So if we look at, in fact, we've got a video here of the guys training. Let's take a look at the video that was sent in to us. Christopher, well, not only does it look like the video skills there are pretty good at Franschhoek, but it looks like the players are, well, they certainly look like they're excited to be training.
JP, definitely, the players was ecstatic. They couldn't wait to get onto the field. And, us coaches have put in a lot of preparation to make the training, in accordance to the COVID protocol, where we have small groups. Yeah. So we had about 4 stations on the field, and each coach working with a couple of players, so we try to have like 3 or 4 training sessions for the week. So as from this week, we will definitely introduce that, but the players, they are very, very excited, and they cannot wait to play,
Christopher, when we spoke 2 weeks ago, you sent us some videos of players running on the road. Some of the players were in the gym. They were doing one-on-one sessions, or at least solo sessions. We saw quite a few selfies there. But when you eventually saw the players on the grass, on the field, what was your first impression? Because we've spoken to some of the other coaches, and they've said to us, well, there's quite a big difference between being in the gym and being on the rugby field. You're the assistant coach. What was your first impression?
My first impression was basically the functional fitness was not up to standard. The running and bending and jumping and doing burpees. So there is a benefit when you do the gym and when you do the road running on a everyday basis, or 3-4 times a week. But definitely there's a lack in the functional fitness of the players. So we have put plans together over the weekend, a couple of coaches, and we will address that issue as soon as possible, and to the endurance as well. There is a lack of that, and we definitely want to address that as soon as possible.
All quite understandable, and they haven't been hands-on on the field. I mean, it's absolutely quite normal. Christopher, it's been great chatting with you. Short and sweet, fantastic videos. Love to see the fact that you guys have got these regulations in place at Franschhoek, and of course seeing the players on the park, that they're able to at least see each other again with a smile.
Yeah, JP, thank you very much for having us again. And, we will keep you guys posted of how we're going on the side.
Thanks, Christopher. There we go, folks. Christopher Andrews, assistant coach of Franschhoek Rugby Football Club. Some great videos coming in there from Franschhoek. Remember, if you are watching right now and you're from a club, you can send us your videos of training, of the fans. We look forward to getting your videos and putting them here on TV. Right, as you can see behind me now, Score Energy Drinks. Right, that's the logo. That's the name that you need to send in to 33090. Just send that word SCORE to 33090, and you'll put yourself in the mix to win yourself a case of Score Energy Drinks, a case of Bashu's Cool Drinks, and a set of Cape Rugby TV masks, courtesy of CTC Sports. All right, so it's as easy as that. Just SMS the word SCORE to 33090. Just SMS the word SCORE to 33090. Put yourself in the mix to win a case of Score, a case of Bashu's, and a set of Cape Rugby TV masks. So if you want to win this triple hamper, well, you've got to enter the competition. Just SMS the word SCORE to 33090. You can, of course, see the Score logo behind me here on some of the Club Rugby jerseys. Of course, Score on board with Western Province Rugby and the Western Province Club Rugby Sevens. So congratulations then to last week's winner, Samuel Andrada. Samuel, you are this week's winner of a case of Score Energy Drinks, a case of Bashu's, and a set of Cape Rugby TV masks, courtesy of CTC Sports. Samuel, somebody from Cape Rugby TV is going to be in touch with you shortly so that you can collect your prize. And by the way, folks, Samuel says that he is a regular Cape Rugby TV viewer, and he is a youth administrator at Cape Town Spurs, a football club. It's great to find out. It's great to find out a little bit more about our prize winners behind us. There you go. One more time, folks. You see the logo behind me. Just SMS that word SCORE to 33090, and you put yourself in the mix for this hamper. We'll take an ad break. When we come back from the break, we'll carry on talking about club rugby. Back in a sec. Welcome back, folks. Cape Rugby TV. We, of course, carry on talking about what's happening in the world of club rugby. And as you know, 2021 has started with a bang. Lots of education at the moment. And, of course, if you think about the fact that there is a return to training protocols and the clubs are slowly getting their way back on the park, there's of course also quite a big focus on high performance. But anyway, a number of activities happening and a lot of building on from 2020. And to tell us more about that, Jerome Parvat joins me back on the line. Jerome, it is great to have you back on the line. How are you, Meneer?
JP, very good. Good to be back, and I must say it's actually good to be back and to see some action and to talk to club people. So yeah, it's a great start. So it's really good to be back.
Jerome, let's quickly look. 2020, of course. I mean, 2020 we know was an upside down year, not a normal year of high performance coaching.
Yeah, it wasn't good, JP, but we managed to survive. We got through a lot of coaching seminars and interact with coaches. So we managed to do stuff that we couldn't do, but it's just good to be back and just good to talk to coaches again.
And talking about talking to coaches, if we just look at some of the high performance activities that you've got on the cards. I mean, we're going to talk about this, what's coming up in a second, but explaining to coaches around things like COVID safety and health and protocols is obviously important.
Yes, JP, that is why we felt it's important from our side, from the under 21 management team, to share our knowledge of last year and how to start with training sessions. That was basically the meeting of Monday with all the club people. So that was basically what we try to share our knowledge, because that's a return to play protocol for coaches now.
So I understand that you had this was an online session all about COVID readiness and return to training. I understand you had more than 80 or close on 80 guests in your session.
Yeah, JP, I must say well done to Faisal, Felton and Denzel at the union organizing this session with all the people. And I must say we did it in a short space of time, and it's good to see the response of the club coaches and administrators all together and talking. So that was good, yeah.
And then Jerome, on Saturday, the 2 days before the Monday session, you also had a coaching workshop.
Yeah, we did a coaching workshop level 1 for women coaches again. And that also went well. Saturday, we spent the whole afternoon at Newlands. And it was also good for this woman to be at Newlands because a lot of them hasn't been there. And also now because Newlands are coming to the end, so it was quite good. And the excitement on their side was quite good.
Just for the folks that are watching, just give us a rough idea, level 1. I know we've spoken to Nazim on a couple of occasions, and I know that you and Nazim work together on a lot when it comes to coaching and education, because there's clearly an overlap there in terms of coaching and high performance and education. But level 1 that's of course the entry level for people who just want to get started.
Yeah, it's the entry level, so it's pretty basic. It's how you basically start to preparing your team, but very, very, very low key, very basic. And I must say, JP, the ladies, there were one lady from Strandfontein, I think. She said she didn't know anything about rugby, but after that 6 hours, she understands totally. So she can talk with her sons now and her husband on rugby, and she can explain to them what went wrong in the game, she said.
Sounds like the kind of course that I need to be doing. But that is fantastic, Jerome. I mean, isn't that what we're looking for, these kind of entry-level courses? That's obviously where you're going to get your vast majority of uptake. It's the kind of course that is open for everybody. And when you go a little bit higher, of course, you have less people. But at a starting point, whether you're at a club level or a school level or a social level, that World Rugby Level 1 course is the one that you want to get started with.
Yeah, it's exactly, JP, and we don't mind. It's anyone who wants to come must just they must just register, and then we will help them.
Jerome, then of course now once one has gone through that process and have done the the courses at Western Province, or your first course, or maybe your second course, which is of course the level 2, for example, that of course creates the opportunity for the club coaches or school coaches to engage with you on more specific things, more high performance components.
Yeah, JP, that's exactly so. So the next step for coaches who did their level 1, we encourage them to do their level 2. And I must say, a lot of the people do their level 2 because if you want to coach, for example, we're going to get there at club level. If you want to coach at Super A, Super B, Super C, you must at least have a level 2. So we encourage all the coaches to do that. And then, as you were saying, once they do that, we go further. There's a course that we design. That's our own course from Western Province's side that we design, the level 2.5, and that's a step further.
Jerome, of course, once you have become a coach in Western Province Rugby, that gives them the opportunity to engage with you on high performance components. What would you describe, or what is that? How would you describe high performance? Because I think for most people, most of the public there, when we look at high performance, we think about athletes that are going to the Olympics or sprinting the 100 meters and going to the sports science and doing laboratory testing. But for rugby, in your space, what is high performance?
Yeah, JP, I would hope they can go to the Olympics when they're done with me with high performance, but no, only joking. My role is it's only it's specific on any aspect of rugby, which we're going to start in March. So for example, we start the first one on lineouts, which we break the lineout up, and we have discussions, and we ask coaches their ideas. We share our ideas. And also we send them some stuff on lineouts, so it's more specific on rugby, any aspect of the game.
That's fantastic. So you're actually specializing in the actual activity of the game. In other words, those things like you say, scrumming or high lineouts and so on. Jerome, then just to go into something else that of course was big last year was the Western Province Rugby 2.5 course that you mentioned a few seconds ago. Is it your intention to do more of those this year? Of course, I know that at the moment there's a whole string of different coaching courses, the level 1s, the level 2s, the 7s courses. Is it your intention to later in the year do the 2.5 course again?
Yeah, JP, we actually fortunate that SA Rugby is starting with their level 3 or with their high performance coaches program also. So from the reason why we started this level 2 is to prepare coaches when they go to SA Rugby. So then they sort of have an idea of what the level 3 is or what SA Rugby want them to do there. So they've done a lot of homework on that.
Yeah.
So that's the idea. And then because of the rugby is going to start now, so hopefully after the season we're going to start again with the 2.5 because it's a 7-week program.
After a year of no activity, shall we say a year of no formal training, it must be very exciting now for the club players to have an opportunity to get back on the field and see their friends again.
Yeah, I would think it must be very exciting for them to go back to their field and go train and see their friends. I mean, after a long time of no rugby, it must be good for them and exciting to be on the park and just to train and to feel the rugby ball again.
And you think the coaches are probably, I mean, your coaches must be just as excited because they're seeing some of the, I mean, we've heard some funny stories already of coaches saying that they're worried about, have the guys been fit? Have they been training on their own? Did they maybe eat too much during the holidays?
Yeah, JP, I think what we said from a coaching side, they're also excited. So I just hope, because there's a lot of new ideas that they have to keep the players' interest in the training session. So I hope they're also well prepared, because that's one of the reasons why we had all these coaching sessions. But I'm sure they're quite happy to be on the park.
Do you think the coaches have been staying fit?
Last year when on the show we saw a couple of coaches running on treadmills and so I would think they would be.
Jerome, we leave it at that. It's great chatting with you again. I mean, the Geus is obviously, there's a buzz at the moment. There's like a breath of fresh air blowing at the moment. I mean, we know that it's happening under difficult circumstances still, and all the dynamics have changed. But I mean, the stuff that you guys are doing to help the clubs get back on the park is fantastic, and we're excited to keep watching.
Yeah, JP, and just from our side, just keep on looking what we are doing on your side, on Western Province's side, and just be interactive, because there's a lot of exciting stuff coming up in March. Looking forward to it.
There we go, folks. Jerome Parvater, of course, head of high performance at Western Province Rugby. And a lot of exciting stuff coming up. They've already started with all those courses, and a number of coaching courses still coming up. And we'll be speaking to Jerome on a regular basis to find out what's happening at Province, so that you as the clubs know where to get the ball rolling, so to speak. Folks, that is a wrap for us here then this evening. Remember, you can join us again next week, same time, same place. Have a fantastic